doing?
All right, how are you?
Let me turn my camera on.
Awesome. There you are.
There I am.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Nice
Man,
shirt.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been hearing you for most of my life. It's great to see you and finally meet you, man.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, very, very cool. Awesome. Let me introduce you to our audience.
Hey,
Like you need one. Of course, I am here with Jeff Pilson, part of that classic lineup of Dokken and member of Foreigner now since 2004. Can that be right?
I know.
And I know there's one chucklehead friend of mine out there going, "Hey, that's the guy from Rockstar. He's Jorgen from Steel Dragon." But Jeff is now part of the End Machine, of course, with George Lynch, fellow Dokken bandmate. They are set to release their second album, Phase 2, on April 9th from Frontiers Records. And Jeff, it's an honor, man. Thanks for hanging.
Oh, thank you. And it's good to know. I have a very, very dear friend who uses the word chucklehead a lot. It's nice to hear somebody else using chucklehead.
It's one of my favorites. It just
It's a great
explains
term.
so
It
much.
really is. It makes me think of my friend Russ, but that's cool.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about this M Machine record, man. It's pretty special. Pretty
Oh, thank you.
special. Uh when you were putting this record together, this is the second record, of course.
Mhm.
Um Pretty much the same lineup. You have Steve Brown, Mick's brother, which is really, really cool, keeping it in the family. And he,
That's right.
he he is just
He's our
killing it.
little Jason Bonham.
What was that?
He's our little Jason Bonham.
There you go. He is killing it on this record too.
Oh,
It
he's
sounds,
amazing.
man, it's
Perfect fit. I mean, could we have asked for a better fit? I mean, down to the DNA. It's
yep.
pretty amazing.
I love that. I love it.
I,
Were you looking with this album? Were you looking to do anything different, or were you just saying, did you have a specific thing in mind going into this one, or did you
yeah,
say, hey, let's just keep it the way we're doing it? It works.
no, we did have something in mind. We felt like last time, the last record, we had let ourselves get a little bit loose on the songs a bit. We stretched out in spots, and listen, we had a great time doing it, and I'm very proud of the first record.
Hmm.
But we recognized that we might have been a little self-indulgent in spots. So we wanted to really hone it in and make it about the songs. So the very first thing that we did once the music was down, well, even while we were doing the music, is we just concentrated on hooks and worked very hard and collaboratively to get that. And then just really spent time with the songs. I mean, everything was worked out, very, very much according to keeping with that principle. And I think I think we did an amazing job, if I may say so myself.
Yep.
And I'm just really pleased with the results.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's fantastic. It's a great record. Fans will love this.
I
Uh,
hope.
who does the bulk of the writing for End Machine? I know you write, of course, and
Sure.
George.
Well, I mean, there's no there's no rule book or anything, but generally it starts with George and I writing the music, and more often than not, that starts off with George has a riff or something, and he'll send me a little MP3 of something, and like, okay, yeah, let's work on that, and then we take whatever he starts with. It, like I say, that's often the case. He'll have a riff or something, and then we just design a song around it and just bash ideas back and forth until we feel good about the music. Um, and we have enough experience to know that it's really about the vocals. So it's not like the ideas can't change later on down the line. And little things do change, but we have a pretty good sense of what's going to work for vocals as a rule. So once the music is down, then on this record, George and Robert and I ended up having several Zoom sessions where we wrote together online, but mostly to kind of solidify the hooks.
Okay.
And that's what we did on all the songs. We made sure we were happy with the hooks. And then in most cases, Robert would take it away and kind of finish the vocals, the verses or whatever. And he did an amazing job at that.
Yeah.
So that's basically how the writing was done on this record. kind of how it was done last time, but like I said, we were a little looser about the songs because we wanted to stretch out. We wanted to, do some fun things.
Right.
Which this record again, we just kept it more focused and more meat and potatoes, and I feel like we accomplished what we set out to do.
Cool. Yeah. Now with the world in shambles, in the state it's in, you guys. Did you ever really get together, like when recording and stuff? Did you get a chance to rehearse and record together?
Well, all of George's parts were done remotely. And ironically, George actually lives fairly close to me.
Of course.
Yeah. But we started writing in July, and things were pretty bad then still.
Yep.
So we were both very cautious. There wasn't a vaccine, all that kind of thing. So we did all the work. All of George's stuff was done remotely. And it's pretty cool because now there's a program where I can kind of run George's studio remotely, and then we would talk on Skype, and that's how we would communicate. And then I run the studio and blah blah blah. We were done. But awesome. Robert came here to do all his vocals, and Steve came here to do all his drums and his vocals.
Okay, so that's
and
cool.
In fact, the videos were even cut right near my property, our property here. So
awesome. Oh, that's cool. So you did get a chance to have that bit of a live setting going.
Oh yeah, we did. And by the time Robert came to sing, he had been quarantined for a long time, so we both felt pretty safe. Sorry about that. I hate it when people have to do that. But anyway, we felt pretty good about it. So by the time he came here, I think he started coming here in September, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, we felt like, okay, this is good, and it was a bit of a lull, so that was good. And then Steve came to do the drums in early November. And by then we felt, again, there wasn't the vaccine or anything yet, but we had all been really careful, and we were, we took the tests and everything. So we felt good about that. So yes, we did have interaction, which is great. Yeah. I mean, not that everybody couldn't have done a great job all remotely, but for Robert and I, the chemistry that we have, it's really important that we're kind of next to each other, because a lot of it comes down to us singing together, and when you're working on Skype, there's a little bit of a latency, so you can't really sing together.
Right, you can't.
You know what I mean? And so it was very great that when we were working, we bounced ideas back and forth. It was important that happened like this, and then we wanted to record because I had this gorgeous microphone that Robert just sounds like. I mean, Robert's great no matter what he sings into, but he loves this mic too. So it was actually worth him coming all the way out from Phoenix on my microphone. And it was just better contact. It's a better vibe. You need that. When you're a band, you need that. George and I have worked together so much, and we can read each other's minds so well that the remote thing was pretty easy. And we had never written together before remotely, so that was interesting, but got it done. Kind of forced just to be a little more simple too. I think was good.
Yeah, and I mean, what you guys do, I think it's organic. I mean, it's got it's a bluesy rock feel. It's I mean, it's it's
right what we like.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really cool. I noticed on the first song on the record is kind of a without warning type thing.
Sure.
Was that intentional, like a nod to the old days?
A little bit. Actually, where that came from is we had the track Blood and Money already. And, I'd been kind of trying to think. Well, originally we actually had one of the other tracks was what we had slated to be the opener. But then as Blood and Money developed, it was like, well, this is the obvious opener. This is such a, it's, in the Dokken vein kind of thing. It's just like.
It's an attack. Yeah.
So when that happened, a guy that we work with who was actually the guy that orchestrated the Dokken reunion in 2016 in Japan.
Right.
Very, very dear friend of ours for many, many years, and we worked with him a lot over the years, a guy by the name of Tom Mayhew. We were actually talking on the phone, and he goes, yeah, and he heard Blood and Money, and he said, you know what? You should have like a without warning kind of thing before it. I was
look
like,
at
that. Yeah, there you go. So I went into the studio, and I started chopping up bits and pieces of the other songs, and organized them into a bed, played it for George, and he was like, yeah, that's perfect. So he did some soloing stuff over it, and I added more keyboards and whatever, and came up with a great, which will be a great live intro too.
Yeah, that's you know, when you say that, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, man, I can see it. I can see the smoke pouring in and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I hope I hope I get to see it. You know,
wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. No, you know, I mean, a nod to the old days there. You know, people hear Jeff Pilson, they tend to think, and especially, you know, with End Machine, you had George Lynch and you had Mick Brown on the first one. Dokken with a different singer. You always kind of land with that Dokken label, you know, which, you know, you should be proud of, obviously, for obvious reasons.
I don't fight. I mean, I had my times when I used to like, oh, really? Is that the only thing I'm good for? But, but you know what? I understand.
I mean, that was the question I would ask. Is it frustrating at times where, you know, you're busting your ass doing this great new music and it's being compared to stuff you did 30 years ago?
Well, again, it's just so something that I understand and accept now, that the frustration is kind of the frustration is worn down to now where it's just like, well, when we do something like this, like the End Machine, let's just make it the very best possible thing it can possibly be, and still something that we get off on and get, you know, and enjoy, and it feels fresh and new. But you know, if it sounds a little bit like Dokken, who cares? You know, we love, you know, we had a big part of Dokken, so I mean, it only makes sense.
Yeah. Pretty big, yeah. What was the hardest part about making this record?
Oh, I think just not that it was all that hard, but we really did have to keep it in mind. Let's stay focused on the great songs, and you know, let's not let stuff slip through that we don't feel is like really nailing it. And so I guess the, you know, having to police it, which, you know, as a producer, you're supposed to do anyways, you know.
Right.
So, but we were, George and Robert and I all stayed real focused on that. So, in a way that was hard, because when we first started writing, we had to figure out how to do that. And it took a few sessions to pull it together. So, but once we did, it became, like you say, we wanted it to be organic. So once we found something that felt natural, then it was fine, and it worked out great for the rest of the time. But it was difficult getting to that spot, because you don't want to cut yourself off from ideas and creativity, but at the same time, when you're really trying to focus on something, you have to be brutal with yourself sometimes, you know, and really like, no, I may like that, but that's not the right thing. That's not what's going to work in this whole big picture that we're painting here. And so that's not that it's all that difficult, but it's probably what required the most effort.
Okay, yeah, kind of culling what you have. And speaking of that, what's the cutting room floor look like? Is there leftover stuff?
There's not leftover full songs, no, but there's, you know, that always spawns other ideas. You know, I've got a little collection of ideas there.
Right.
So, you know, I've got a whole George file of, you know, just things that he does, you know. Hey, let me record that. Hold on. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. You know?
Maybe later. And speaking of George, what's your relationship with George? Like, how's it changed over the years? Like, you know, you guys were working together in '83. It's got to be a little bit different than it is today.
Well, it's remarkably similar, actually, but
wow. That's good.
I mean, I think, you know, we're older, we're a little wiser, we're mellower. We're not, you know, crazy young kids. But when we do music, we kind of are kids. We're both a couple of big kids. That's what we've always loved about working together is, you know, we bring out the 15-year-old in the other guy. I mean, cool. I'm serious. You know, that's what we love. You know, we turn into that teenager that was jamming with other guys down the street. And to me, that's why I started playing, is for that. So
totally.
I think that's part of the secret to our longevity is that we don't allow ourselves to change. I mean, yeah, like I say, we get better. I think we get better at what we do. I think we get more focused and more wise, but we're the same guys, and that's kind of cool.
That is really, really cool. Not everybody can say that, especially writing
Right.
teams, and
Right.
and it's no secret that George and Don have had their differences, and as we,
Wait, they did?
you missed all that, huh? You know, well publicized, to the point of you didn't want to leave them alone together. Um, but in 2016, we had the reunion, the 8 dates in Japan.
Mhm.
What was that atmosphere like? Like you said, you guys are older. You're a little wiser.
It was actually surprisingly congenial, and I think we all walked into it with a little bit of trepidation, like, oh, what's this going to be like? Because honestly, there was some nasty arguments leading up to the reunion and just getting it,
Right.
in place. There was some nasty crap that went on.
Mhm.
But by the time we got together and started rehearsing and everything, uh, it was actually very friendly and it was fun. A lot of laughs.
Great.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was a much calmer and nicer atmosphere than I expected, and it was really nice.
Ah, see, that's great. That's really good to hear. And as a fan, the bands you love, the music that you love, the people that make it, they're family. They're your family. You don't want brothers to fight.
Right.
It's like
Yep.
you know. So
True.
yeah, that is good to hear. Do you think it brought you and George? Did anything for you and George made you a little closer that particular moment?
I don't know. I mean, no, it just felt like a continuation of the same thing
Okay.
that's always been going on. No, I mean, if anything, it was nice to see. I mean, it was nice to my one of the favorite things I saw was that George and Don actually had some very positive interactions, and that was kind of nice to see. It was, they kind of let it loose a little bit, and it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Mhm.
I did want to ask you about the hearing aid sessions.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Okay.
yeah, and I wanted that you've done so much with your career and your life, your music. Just you've been so many different places with so many great different people. That seems for the fan on the outside looking in, that is such a special thing. I see that picture, and it's just all of those people I just love. These are the people that give me the soundtrack to my life. Um, was it a special session, that star
Oh,
session?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I mean, it was first of all the session itself. um, was a lot of laughs. I mean, and by the way, the only session I did was the choir. Like
right,
George actually did solo and Don actually sang, so they
right.
had their own separate sessions. But the choir was just it was a hilarious day. It was just a fun. I mean, and I was right by um, Michael McKeon for most of the
Oh
day,
yeah.
who was in total Spinal Tap mode, and he stayed in character all day and just constantly making these jokes that were so friggin' funny. Um, Ted Nugent was really funny that day for some reason. I mean, it was just like there was a lot of funny stuff going on, and it was a lot of laughs. And then it culminated in this gigantic party at Kevin DeBro's house afterwards that went till the wee hours of at least a day, maybe 2 days later. So
Wow, wow. That's again, that's great to hear. Because like I say,
I know I all I'm the funny thing I remember is Mick Brown had a hotel because he was living. I think he must have been living in Phoenix at that time or something. I don't know what. No, he wasn't in Phoenix yet. Why would he have had a hotel? No, he didn't have a hotel. Eddie Ojeda had a hotel. That's what it
okay.
was. And somehow I just remember early in the morning being in Eddie Ojeda's hotel room with Mick Brown, singing Beatles songs at 8 in the morning. That's my last
Nice.
memory of the hearing aid session.
Awesome. That's too cool. And then you went on to work with Ronnie, of course.
Sure.
What was Ronnie like with you? I mean, was it a business transaction or did you have
No, no, we were
moments?
very close friends too.
Yeah,
Very, very close friends.
yeah.
Friends throughout. We first opened for Ronnie on his Holy Diver tour, our Break in the Chains tour. We did 6 shows with him in '83.
Mhm.
where we actually met the guys, but didn't get to know them real well. Then the following year, of course, we did a lot of his Last in Line tour and our Tooth and Nail tour together, and that was just a spectacular tour. And it was a couple things. Number one, it was a workshop for Dokken as a band about being a live band. It really, I think we made a lot of improvements on that tour just watching them and being around them, because the Dio organization was very pro. They sounded great every night, and we were taking notes. We were taking a lot of mental notes, but also both bands and crews just became great friends. I mean, we hung out all the time during that tour.
That's cool.
Ronnie would have us up to his suite for the Super Bowl, and just all that kind of fun stuff was there so much with both bands and crews that they were friendships that really, I think, started something that lasted certainly for the rest of Ronnie's life. Yeah. So great friends. It was a great situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What's the proudest moment of your career? I mean, you've done so much. What are you most proud of?
Want to know what the moment I'm most proud of? In 2017, Foreigner was in Switzerland. We did a series of shows with the 21st Century Choir and Orchestra in Lucerne, Switzerland. Which we ended up recording for a live record. And so we played with a full-on orchestra and a full-on choir. And on the day of the first show, my wife and daughter were there visiting. And my daughter plays cello. And Dave Egger, who was the guy that put all the string arrangements together and was there also playing cello live with the band, he said, "Hey, we should bring Olivia up on I Want to Know What Love Is." Olivia's my daughter.
Right.
And we're like, really? So my wife and I sat down with our daughter at breakfast, and we told her about this, and she was, "Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'd get in the way. I'd love it." Like,
how old was she at the time?
She would have been 13. Wow. Just about to turn 13.
Oh, that had to freak her out. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she finally decided, okay, I'll do it. And she went up there, and she was so focused and played so well and did everything. She handled it. I mean, that's my most proud moment.
I can see that. I got two kids of my own. One's has a degree in music education. So yeah, I totally relate. I couldn't.
That's great.
Wow,
that's great.
I'd fall apart. That would be pretty great.
Yeah, I kind of did.
Definitely. Now, I had talked to Reb. He was a friend of mine. We talked. I think it was November. He said you had called him said, "Get your stuff ready for Black Swan. It's about to happen." He said he had like 16 riffs that Kip rejected, and so you were like, yes. He was thinking, at that time, I think he said February or something. Right. What's happening with Black Swan? Is that happening?
Well, we were going to plan on January, and then things got bad in LA with COVID, so. Right. Actually, it's funny. We're actually playing phone tag at the moment. He would like to have him come out in the next few weeks, actually, to start writing Black Swan 2. So, plan is to definitely have a record in 2022, and so got to start writing soon.
Man, that was an amazing record too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wow, well, that's just sensational. You got anything else going on? You got the studio there. You're producing all the time. Any other projects you want to?
Well, other than working up a Black Swan record, I'm going to be heading out on the road with Foreigner again pretty soon. So,
man, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So I know it's exciting. So basically, I got to start. We're done. With the M Machine now. We're just promoting that. Gonna start the Black Swan record, hitting the road, and that's kind of the rest of my year.
Man, fantastic! It's too cool. Jeff, man, I know you got a full day of interviews here, man. It means the world to me to hang with you and promote this record, man. The End Machine Phase 2 comes out April 9th on Frontiers. Look for
Yep.
Foreigner on the Road. Look for a new
And there's
Black
2
Swan.
videos already out from phase 2. There's the Blood and Money
Yeah.
video, which has been out over a month, and then
Mhm.
Crack the Sky, which just came out last Friday.
Yes, definitely. Check it out. Get the record. All kinds of double vinyl too. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's it's fantastic. An honor and a pleasure to talk to you and meet you, man. It's yeah, I hope to see you out on the road.
Yeah, you will indeed. Where are you at?
I'm out of Chicago.
Oh,
Yeah. You're gonna come to Chicago, right?
of course we are.
Yeah. And you know, you mentioned, I want to tell you, you mentioned that tour with Dio. That was the first time I saw you. When you were talking about it, I'm like, that Last in Line tour. It was you know, and that I hadn't seen you guys. And yeah, I hadn't heard the music really. And I saw you guys live, and you know, I had the record in my hand the next day, and I still got it right behind me. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're the people that gave me a career.
Yeah, man, and you gave us the soundtrack to our lives, no doubt. So we appreciate you, man. See you out on the road, and good luck with everything. Be well.
Thank you so much, Scott. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.